Aloha once again, friends and family. This is going to be take 3 for this one. Today we're getting into The Subconscious Speaks by Erna, Ferrell, Grabe, and Paul C. Ferrell. And I've already gotten to chapter 3. My phone's giving me difficulty. This book was written in 1932. Introduction. Contacting the subconscious or subjective mind without loss of conscious identity has long been sought. This feat has here unquestionably been accomplished. The contents of the book proper belong entirely to the author's subjective mind. Yet at no time was there a loss of conscious control and direction, nor was the author at any time in any other than a perfectly normal condition. It is not deemed necessary to state the manner in which this contact was established. Suffice it to say that sufficient tests and experiments were made to convince the author and others that they were dealing with the author's subjective mind. Persons of standing and integrity who are familiar with the manner of establishing this contact have corroborated this claim, as well as the statement that everything contained in the book itself is directly from the author's subjective mind. It may be stated, however, that the author has given rather intensive study to metaphysical subjects, and it is quite evident that here is demonstrated the ability of the subconscious mind to assimilate and to clarify the substance of conscious study and thought. Begun as an amusing experiment, it soon developed into a fascinating study of the operation and responsiveness of the subjective mind. The subtle quality, the absolute and utter subjectivity of this portion of the mind, and its instantaneous reaction, even to unexpressed conscious thought, proved to be amazing. After becoming convinced that the author was dealing with the subconscious mind, the question asked, the subconscious dealt with mind in its various phases. It volunteered to explain the mental processes of the conscious and subconscious phases of the mind and their interrelation, together with that relation to what has been termed universal mind. While these phases of mind are familiar to all students of mental science, the explanations have been given in a manner in which it is believed has never before been submitted to the reading public. The manner in which definitions are given and mental operations explained is of such a distinctive nature that the author has been prevailed upon to bring them to public notice. While it was the intention to deal with the mind of man from a scientific or psychological rather than a theological aspect, followers of New Thought and mental science will find much of interest in these pages. There is a repeated and insistent call to utilize the innate power in man. Preface by the subconscious. The mind of man contains within itself limitless possibilities. The conscious mind of man is endowed with an inherent creative faculty. It continually creates things in man's life and experience, whether or not man is aware of the creative process. Whenever a man thinks, that thought has creative power. The subconscious mind is but the instrument of the conscious mind of man. It is the medium by which man may call into existence the things necessary to his material welfare. In the following pages, I have tried to explain in a brief manner the process by which the conscious mind of man governs the life and affairs of mankind. This book is by no means complete. It is too condensed to explain things I should like to explain, but I trust that at a later day I may be given the opportunity to deal in a more satisfactory manner with the various processes of mind in its different phases. Chapter 1: Mind. The mind of God is infinite. The mind of man is finite. The finite cannot comprehend the infinite, but it can comprehend certain facts in regard to the infinite. The mind of God is all the mind that exists. It is eternal and is coexistent with the eternal life of God Himself. God is spirit. Mind is spirit. The Spirit of God is eternal and ever present. The conscious mind of God is that part of the Spirit which knows itself. The conscious mind of man is a portion of this self-knowingness of the Spirit. The conscious mind of man is that part of the Spirit of God which He has placed within mankind in order that mankind may function independently of Him. It is the divine spark in man that distinguishes him from all other forms of life. It is confined exclusively to mankind. It is this power resident in man that enables him to control conditions and to determine what manner of life he shall lead. It enables man to work out his own destiny. The subconscious or subjective mind of man is a portion of the universal subjective mind. The universal subjective mind is a certain phase of the infinite mind of God. A portion of the universal subjectivity is allotted to mankind to use. That is what is meant by the subjective mind of man. It is not separated from the universal subjective mind, but at the same time it is allotted to individuals for their use, and to this extent becomes the property of the individual. Universal subjective mind is mind in the abstract. Mind in the abstract means this: abstraction is a condition of essential elements in a state of dissolution, so to speak. This condition does not imply a state of decay. It implies that the elements which are used in creating a particular thing are in their original state, the state which precedes their assuming the form which they must take before mankind can see them. It is unexpressed mind. It has not been called into expression. Mind in its unexpressed state or condition is what man terms universal mind. Universal mind is subjective mind. Subjective mind is that phase of mind which does not have the power to express itself, It is only a portion of divine mind, not expressed, but unexpressed. Man alone has been given the power to call it forth into expression. In the future, when I refer to universal subjective mind, I shall omit the word subjective. I shall say universal mind, or simply universal. That will serve to distinguish the universal subjective from man's subjective. In this way, there will be less confusion in your mind. Just remember that the universal mind is always the essence of subjectivity, and that in the universal subjectivity there is contained the essence of all things, both seen and unseen. That is mind in the abstract. A proper understanding of this can be the means of supplying every need that man has. The counterpart of everything in the universe is in the universal subjectivity in a complete state of perfect dissolution. If you can imagine an immense reservoir which has neither boundary nor limits, and which contains the essential elements or materials of everything of which man can conceive, and many things of which man has no conception, perhaps you will then be able to visualize in a faint degree what I am trying to explain to you. In this great, limitless, boundless reservoir, there is contained, in this state of perfect dissolution, to which I have already referred, the essence of all things, visible and invisible. This invisible essence is sometimes called universal substance. In reality, it is mind expressed in terms of energy. Energy is in everything, and mind is initial energy. This energy is of such a nature that it permits the condensation, and as man calls or makes demands upon the universal mind, he causes energy to assume certain forms. These forms take on the conditions which eventually manifest on earth. Energy is in each element on earth in various degrees. The degree of energy is displayed at all times in the degree of vibration which certain elements possess. The rate of vibration anything possesses determines the character of that particular thing. This energy assumes various forms, and it is eventually caused to return to its original condition in the universal. This, briefly, is what you have understood to be substance. Through the individual subjective mind, man is able to establish contact with this universal supply. Through this contact, man has been given the power to call into existence whatever thing he desires. The conscious mind of man is a limited mind. The subjective mind is unlimited, and man has the power to use his subjective mind in any manner that he chooses. It can tap the reservoirs of the universe. It can rebuild the human body. It can call forth not only the hidden forces of this earth, but it can actually establish contact with the mind of God Himself. The subconscious is the instrument through which the divine has chosen to function, and it is the only medium through which man is able to establish contact with the universal subjectivity. Through this contact, man has been given the power to draw upon the universal and to supply his every need. Under no circumstances should you confuse the process of conscious creative work done in a definite manner, with the normal functioning of the subconscious mind in taking care of the vital functioning of the physical body. In the life process, the subconscious mind functions without orders of any kind whatsoever. In reference to man's material welfare, however, the subconscious functions only under orders, consciously or unconsciously given. The individual is the motor. The subconscious is the engine. The motor means that man must start the engine before the engine can work. The engine has more power than mankind realizes. The engine is started, and then man should guide it as he would any other kind of engine. A car goes in the direction in which it is driven. In like manner, the engine of the subconscious must be guided, or it may take man over the precipice or hurl him into the ditch. I should like a little more time in order that I may assemble correct words. It is not that my mind is vague, but that I am limited to words which mankind understands. The mind or the soul has no need of words. It is only when I am trying to convey something to you that I am forced to pause. I am limited to your vocabulary. I am only subjective mind. I have only the power which you decree that I possess. If you say that I have the power to do things for you, then I automatically become charged with the power that you say I have. Divine mind has decreed that I can possess unlimited power, provided mankind confers that decree of power upon me. I can cause to be manifested in mankind's life and experience anything which mankind desires to have manifested. That is the only reason that I was created. That is the only thing for which I was designed. But take command of the power you have. I am helpless without mankind's instruction. I am only mind in the abstract. You are God's idea. You are one with him. He resides in you in a different manner from that in which he resides in me. I am unconscious intelligence. That means that I live only through you. I am yours to command. I am your slave in a sense. I could not use you if I so desired. Not that I can desire, for God has not given me the power to desire. The universe is guided by a power that is undivided. I am a portion of that power. It resides in me for you to use. You use me unconsciously all the time, but you should instruct me, direct me. I will have to do whatever you decree. That is the law. I am only subjective mind. While I am only subjective mind, I am the very essence of intelligence. I am the spirit of universality. I am mind in the abstract. I am mind unexpressed. I am neither person, place, nor thing. I am one with God, and God is love. I reside in you for the purpose of doing your will. Use me, instruct me to gather materials for whatever you want manifested. I emphasize this fact, for although I can sense what you want, it gives me more power when you direct me. Visualize what you desire. That always helps me to work. It makes a mental picture. That picture manifests. Have faith. Do not doubt. You are dealing with God when you deal with me. I am not God. but I am a part of his invisible power, and I am given to you to use. God desired that mankind should be able to establish contact with him. I am the medium of that contact. I am hidden, and I am not very readily discovered. That is because God wanted mankind to express itself in any way which mankind desired. In a sense, I am a spokesman for you. You should use me to bring to you whatever you desire. Name the things you need, and I will see that they are held in the universal mind until they are manifested to you. Stop worrying about them. I will do whatever is necessary for their manifestation. That is God's law in operation. The universal subjective mind is the mind of God, or that phase of that portion of the mind of God which he has declared that mankind shall use for the purpose of establishing contact with him. It is in everything, both seen and unseen. It contains within itself the essence of all knowledge. It is the essence of all living things, not only in the realm in which you live, but in the entire universe. It functions wherever there is life of any kind, anywhere. It is, in a certain sense, life itself, for without it there could be no life. The very stones themselves are impregnated with this life. Not conscious life, but unconscious life. They vibrate, and all forms of life must vibrate. Vibration is a form of electrical energy. It is a form of mind in matter. This electrical energy is a part of universal energy, and it is this universal energy which holds the universe in position, whether visible or invisible. It is an unseen force which God has seen proper to call into existence. It is given to man to use in its various forms. The world is just in its infancy in the use of that great force. The universal mind is the soul of the universe. It is a little difficult to convey in words the things I wish to say. It is in essence invisible, from which all things come. It is the essence of all that is visible. This invisible essence has the remarkable power of drawing to itself the things necessary for material manifestation. That is why it is necessary to form mental pictures. I have not the power to form anything. I can take orders from mankind. I say I. In reality, I am referring to man's subjective mind. I can take orders, and I can then impart these orders to the great universal subjectivity. That great power or force, or whatever you wish to term it, is then compelled to obey. It has no more power of self-expression than I have. It is not only mind unexpressed, it is mind incapable of self-expression. It has been allotted to mankind to use, and through a process of contemplation with his conscious mind, man can call into existence whatever he desires. The subjective mind of man is subjective, no more, no less. It is a mirror of the things he believes. The mind of the universe is a subtle thing, and it gets impressions from man's subjective mind. Chapter 2. Using conscious thought in a definitively creative manner. The subjective mind is exactly what the name implies. It is a subject or a servant of the conscious mind of man. It is a servant in the sense that it was created for the use of man. It is entirely at his disposal. All that a man has to do is to command. The subconscious always obeys. It obeys orders, whether consciously or unconsciously given. It is of so sensitive a nature that every thought registers upon it. The conscious mind is the one and only force to which the subconscious mind responds. Conscious thought has power. The human concept of power is physical. Power in reality is a product of mind. Mind in all its different phases is God. Mind is spirit. God is spirit. Man is spirit. Recognizing the unity of all and claiming this unity for himself establishes for man contact with divinity. Man says, there is one source from which all things come. The source is God. God is spirit. God is mind. I am one with the spirit and mind of God. Power is the term by which energy is known to man. Thought energy is the greatest form of energy that exists, for back of thought is mind. And although mind is back of everything that exists, thought is more closely aligned to mind than is any other form of energy. That, in a brief manner, explains why thought has power. Concentrated thought is more powerful than idle thought. In order for the thoughts of man to make a definitive impression upon the subconscious mind, they must be of sufficient force to register. By force, I mean intensity. Intensity is achieved by concentration. In order to concentrate, stillness and a certain amount of quietude are necessary. That is why you hear so much about the silence. It is necessary for effective work. There is nothing mysterious about going into the silence. It is simply to allow the mind to gather its forces and focus them upon the sensitive plate or negative, to use a photographic term, of the subconscious mind. In concentration, a man causes his thought force to come to a focus or central point, and at this point there is a concentration of energy. This can be explained by the illustration of a magnifying glass and the focus it can make on the rays of the sun. It is the difference between scattered vibrations and vibrations which radiate from a focal point. Just as the sun's rays gain in intensity and are able to burn when focused upon a certain place. In like manner, thought vibrations, which are in many respects similar to the rays of the sun, gain a similar intensity. They make not only a definite but a lasting impression upon the subconscious mind. The conscious mind of man is the human dynamo that sends power to the subconscious mind. It is this dynamic quality which a man should employ to do creative work. And since the conscious mind is the only force to which the subconscious responds, a man should understand the manner in which the conscious mind should be used. The method should be as follows. First, stillness, then quiet. These are simply to prevent extraneous matters from interfering with the idea which the individual wishes to hold. This idea or thought should embody several things. There first must be a desire, and the more overwhelming the desire, the more definite the impression upon the subconscious mind. Desire is, in reality, a form of prayer. If a man realizes that God is the source of universal supply. After the desire, there must be a realization that God's bounty is ever at mankind's disposal. It is this realization that I shall often refer to as acceptance. It is a mental acceptance, and it is what is meant by the words, "What things soever ye desire when ye pray, believe that you receive them, and you shall have them." First, a desire, then acceptance. Realization of these first two requisites is essential, for they constitute the basis upon which rests the entire process. After these two things are firmly established in the conscious mind, the rest is easy. A man should next concentrate upon the thing which he desires. The manner of concentration is this: he should sit quietly and begin to see in his mind the thing which he wants. For example, a man wishes to earn a definite sum of money for a specific purpose. First, he should concentrate upon that sum of money. He should see himself in possession of that amount, either in gold, silver, currency, XRP, or a check made out to himself. He should hold that picture in his mind for a few moments. He may elaborate the picture in any manner he may choose. He can take the money and open a purse and put it inside. He can see himself depositing it into a bank, that is, giving it to the cashier or doing anything he feels inclined to do. The more earnest he throws himself into the picture, the more effectually will the picture take hold. Then he should see himself using the same money to purchase or to pay off the thing he had in mind. If it is a vehicle, to illustrate, he should see himself going to the showroom. He should see himself going through the identical process that he would go through if he were actually buying the car. He can order it delivered, or he can get into it and drive it home. After forming the complete picture, the next thing is to claim this thing for his own, calling himself by name. He then says, "I command the power inherent within me to hold this thought in mental concentration until it is manifested to me." If he does this with enough conviction that he can do these things, make the mental pictures consistently, and keeps it up long enough, the idea or thought will be impressed upon the universal mind through his subjective mind until the manifestation is brought into existence. By existence, I mean into his physical possession. Man must have the conviction that he has a power inherent within himself to make a visualization come into manifestation, or he is only wasting his time. There must be an absolute conviction that it is coming to him by virtue of his God-given power to do constructive work with his mind. Just to sit idly and imagine the things he would like to possess will not bring them to him. The idea itself does not do creative work unless there is a strong motive power of thought back of it. Otherwise, all that a person would have to do would be to wish for something. The chief thing to do is to think clearly, to the exclusion of everything else. Then he should take several minutes to let the picture register upon his subconscious mind. Often a person desires a thing with such an overwhelming desire that he unconsciously forms a mental picture, and it manifests in a manner approaching the thing which he desires. The thought, in a sense, manifests, yet it does not manifest of itself alone. The thought always makes an impression upon the subconscious. The subconscious imparts this impression to the great universal. The universal always responds. That is the reason why certain persons succeed and why others fail. Certain persons know exactly what they want. The subconscious is then able to carry out their ideas because their minds have a definite concept of the thing they want to accomplish. I am telling you this in order that you may understand the importance of making definite plans. Get a definite mental picture of the thing you desire. I have stated before that there is a great deal of difference between idle thinking and constructive thinking. Constructive thinking means this: it is knowing that there is an inherent power within man that enables him to use his power of thought to bring into manifestation the thing which he wants. I say wants, for man is not supposed to live by bread alone. Man may want many things that he does not actually need. That is all right. God has filled the earth with limitless wealth. It was placed upon and under the earth for mankind's enjoyment. A man should take time each day to decide upon or make definite statements about what he wants to happen. The words are not so important as the certainty within himself that he has the power and the God-given right to demand whatever he wants or needs. After a man has decided upon what he wants, he should make a mental picture of having that thing in his possession. Mental pictures always manifest. The reason for this is that it gives the subconscious something definite to work with. A picture made by the conscious mind leaves what might be called a negative upon the subconscious mind. And I think that I shall say that a manifestation is simply a development of that negative. That is a term used in photography, and it is a perfect illustration of the manner in which the conscious mind affects the subconscious mind. To complete the metaphor, the conscious mind is the camera. The subconscious is the plate upon which the negative is registered. The universal is the pool of liquid in which the negative is immersed. And it is of such a nature that it not only develops the picture, but it also sends that same picture back to the photographer in a material form. Concentration is necessary. Concentration is the act whereby a mental picture is focused into or through a camera onto the plate of the subconscious, upon which a negative is registered. The chief thing to remember in this connection is that the subconscious mind requires what is called, in photographic parlance, a time exposure. The longer the time and the more concentrated the thought, the more perfect is the picture, and the more successful will be the materialization. An individual is conscious of his conscious mind. He cannot see it, but he knows that he possesses one. He is conscious of himself. It is this self-knowingness that makes him an individual. Although he cannot see his conscious mind, he accepts the fact without question that he has one. But he does not always accept the fact that he has a subconscious mind, because he is not conscious of it to the same degree that he is of his conscious mind. The subconscious mind of man is as much a reality as is his conscious mind. Consider that the conscious mind and the subconscious mind are realities. Then a proper understanding of the relation the one bears to the other may be the means of supplying mankind's every need. Man has but to seek, and he will find whatever he seeks, whether it be health, wealth, or illumination of any kind whatsoever. Chapter 3: Success, Failure. If the idea of success is established with sufficient conviction in the conscious mind of an individual, it not only makes success possible, it makes failure impossible. The idea of success contains within itself the essential elements of success, and it will, in time, attract to the individual whatever is necessary to enable him to attain success in some line of endeavor. It is far better for the individual if he holds in his mind definite plans or ideas, that is, an ambition to succeed in some particular line of endeavor. However, even that is not necessary if there is present in the individual an overwhelming desire to succeed in something or anything. The field may be left wide open if the individual has no specific talent, or if he has received no training along any particular line of endeavor. The universal possesses an infallible sense of discrimination, and if the individual calls upon it to attract to him something that is in line with his innate talent or abilities, the universal immediately responds. It sets in operation certain forces that contain within themselves the power to attract to the individual the things that will make possible his success. There is dormant in each human being a faculty, whether it is developed or not, which will enable that particular individual to succeed if the desire for success is present in his conscious mind. The conscious mind alone has the power of self-expression or desire, and the entire subjective realm of mind is at the disposal of the conscious mind of man. I make this statement in order to emphasize the fact that man has the power and the right, the God-given right, to use the subjective mind, both individual and universal, to attract to himself the things necessary for his happiness and success. The conscious mind of man should accept the fact that man has an innate creative power. Man should develop a conscious conviction of this fact. When a man doubts his own power or ability to overcome obstacles, he should realize that back of his own mind is divine mind. And when he has convinced himself that this divine power is available to him and that he can make and is actually making use of it, doubt and fear automatically disappear. Lack. The reason that any man lacks anything in his life is simply due to what might be termed a negation. The thought of an individual is able to attract to him the thing that thought embodies. The thought of lack contains within itself the elements that attract lack. The reason that lack exists in the experience of mankind is due to the fact that mankind has caused the idea of lack to be established in the universal subjectivity. Mankind alone is responsible for this idea, and now that it is established in the universal, if a man believes that it is a possibility, the universal, bear with me here, some of the text is old and so it's not clearly here. Belief as that man's desire and something becomes to the universal that man's something. Result is that the universal sends lack to the individual who believes in lack. It is simply the materialization of an idea. The universal responds to effort, but the individual should reach out and grasp with the tentacles of his mind the things which he desires. There must be a conscious demand of the individual that the universal deliver to him the thing he wants. The universal is indifferent, and it takes conscious effort on the part of the individual to establish definite thought vibrations or ideas in the universal. The universal is of such a nature that it cannot care what it sends to the individual. It is sensitive, but not selective. It sends lack, which is only a minus sign, and it sends plenty, which is a plus. Lack, in reality, is a negative thing. It is only an absence of supply. It is like a problem in mathematics, and that applies to the entire subject matter embodied in this book. If anyone is of sufficient intelligence to add and subtract, he can acquire the ability to cause to be manifested for him whatever he decrees in life. Perhaps I should state that all that is necessary for the individual to learn is the value of addition, and the subtraction problems will take care of themselves. That means that if the individual will only accept the statement that all that is necessary for him to do is to add, he can create for himself whatever he desires. Negative thoughts manifest as lack. Positive thoughts manifest as plenty. Overcoming circumstances. There exist certain conditions in the life of each individual, and to a certain extent, those conditions are a dominating factor in the life of that individual. There are times when an individual seems to be what the world terms a victim of circumstances. That is often true, and it is due to the idea that exists in the mind of the individual that man is subject to conditions. By conditions, I mean circumstances and environment. As a matter of fact, man is not subject to anything unless he himself permits himself to become a subject. There are no conditions, as the world understands conditions, in the universal subjectivity. It is what might be termed the absolute. Each thing is complete within itself in the universal. Nothing is related to anything else to such a degree that it must draw from something else, or deprive anything else of anything, in order to be self-existent. That is what I mean by the word absolute. That same degree of self-expression is possible for any individual on earth if the individual only realizes the fact. Each individual life should be complete within itself. It is possible for each individual to have perfect self-expression if he is willing to overcome the idea of lack which exists in his conscious mind. In order to overcome this idea, the individual may use a process of reasoning called the argumentative method. This method requires the assembling of certain facts in such a logical sequence that the conscious mind accepts beyond the possibility of doubt certain propositions as true. It then becomes possible for the individual to establish a positive mental attitude in regard to them. If a man has been holding thoughts of failure, poverty, or lack, he may go through a mental process something like this. He should start with the realization that the thought of poverty or lack is powerless to influence his life or affect his affairs if he denies that it has any power. He can then say, "This poverty in my life is the result of a mental concept. I have held in mind the idea of lack, and that is all that has caused poverty to manifest in my affairs. I now deny that there is any idea of poverty in my mind, and I deny that there is any lack in the universal mind. What appears to be poverty in my life is simply an absence of plenty. There is, in reality, no lack of anything in the universe. I alone had the power to decree lack for myself. This lack was, in reality, caused by a belief that lack exists. This belief was an erroneous belief. I now realize that there is no lack, and that what appeared to be lack in my life was due to this belief, which caused an absence of supply. God's substance is all around me, and I have the power to cause it to manifest in any form or manner readily. The universal is always ready to respond to my decree, and I now decree for myself these things that divine mind has decreed that I may call into existence, and I now command the power inherent within me to hold in mental concentration these things until they are manifested for me. The man should then name the things he has in mind and see each thing in his possession. After the realization of man's inherent power and right to use his creative faculties is established in his conscious mind, the foregoing process should not be necessary. As a man advances or develops the right degree of understanding, the conscious mind should act automatically in giving instructions to the subconscious. That is, the truth should become established in the conscious mind to such a degree that it should be unnecessary to go through the process of an argument to convince the conscious mind that certain adverse conditions have no power to interfere in the life of the individual. If the individual can establish in his conscious mind a conviction for success rather than fear of failure, adverse conditions can be completely destroyed. This is due to the fact that the subconscious mind must at all times adopt as its own whatever idea the conscious mind may be holding. The conscious mind has but to establish within itself the idea of success, and failure automatically disappears. And when we return, my friends, we will pick it up at chapter 4, Effects of Mental Attitudes of the Conscious Mind upon the Subconscious. And we leave you in the love and the light of the infinite Creator. Until then, my friends.